we'll get rolling. Hopefully you met one or multiple people, new people today. That's what it's all about. And actually, the next speaker I met at the Venture Cafe meetup that happens every Thursday in Phoenix. We met maybe 3-4 weeks ago and really had a great conversation there, and we've got together. Tyler is a wealth of knowledge and insight and has shared a lot of invaluable information with me over the last few weeks. We've had the opportunity to get together, and he's shared with me all of his just all of his secrets to running an agency, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So we're figuring it out. So Tyler runs an agency called Motion Tactic. They develop websites for a range of businesses, mostly software as a service companies, but a range of products and services. And he's going to share with us today how to transform your website into a lead generation machine. So let's give it up for Tyler.
Well, thank you everyone for giving me the time to speak and giving me your attention for the next 20 minutes. I'm excited to share some of the tips that I have for transforming your website into a lead gen machine. A little bit of background about me. I'm not a high school dropout, but I am a college dropout, so I'm not really formally trained in any of this. While attending community college, I fell in love with LinkedIn Learning and started doing a lot of their courses on how to code, and basically formed my career off of that $30 a month subscription, which has been invaluable for the last 9 years that I've been doing website design and development. And my goal starting out my career was to just jump right into a freelancing business. And I quickly learned that I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I didn't know how to sell or scope work, or how to really even deliver a high quality product. So I went the agency route, started at a web design agency, kind of worked my way up there and started to learn the ins and outs of the business. With the entrepreneurial spirit, kind of always looking past my role as developer there, I was thinking, how does this business really work? And how can I one day start my own? So in 2017, 6 years ago now, I started Motion Tactic. And we're a website design, development, and SEO firm. We typically work with B2B companies, so our customers kind of have some commonalities. They're complicated, so their product offering is hard for them to articulate. Their customer base might be something they're working on concretely defining. And a lot of their messaging and design falls flat because they don't typically prioritize marketing. A lot of them are sales-led in the beginning, where realistically, a lot of our businesses when we start are sales-led. We start with our network, we start with the people we know, we try to implement sales techniques, and then later we have to figure out how to market ourselves to grow beyond that network. So if you want to transform your website into a lead gen machine, there's 3 things that we need to change. The first is that we have to strive to be easy to understand. People do not want to put high cognitive effort into figuring out your website and your messaging. They want to be able to just look at it and understand what category to put you in their mind. The second thing we need to change is we need to stop being the hero of the story. Our customers are the hero of the story, not us. And then the next thing we need to do is we need to get the right traffic. There are many, many techniques in order to get traffic to your website, but it's of varying quality, right? If we write a blog post on 10 essential tips to whatever, you might get a lot of traffic. But a page on your website that focuses on a specific industry and a service or product offering that you have might bring in someone that's looking to buy. So we want to think about how we get the right traffic to our website. So my promise to you guys is by the end of the talk, the techniques I'm going to describe, if you implement them successfully, you'll have a website that actually drives you business, creates revenue, instead of just being an asset. So let's talk about being easy to understand. This is the biggest sin that I see in B2B businesses. A lot of people think that their business is different, or that they offer something more unique than the rest of the market, and they start to develop their own internal language, right? We're familiar with jargon. There might be industry jargon and there might be internal company jargon. And either way, jargon is normally not helpful. So, I found this quote from Pete Lejeune, and I hope he doesn't see this and regret saying it. It was actually a LinkedIn comment. And he said, when folks start writing copy for their own site, suddenly they become marketing morons, and they speak marketing speak. We all know what it feels like, and we can all point it out in a moment when we go to a website that's using jargon and industry language, and we're like, I don't know what this means. I don't know what this business does. They're not being clear about their service offering. They're not being clear if it's for me. So while we can sense it for other people's businesses, when we put our own copywriting hat on, immediately we start coming up with made-up terms. Well, this is an example of me screwing this up myself. So I want to just humble myself before you all and be clear that when I put my own copywriting hat on, I make the same damn mistake. So this is a before and after on the hero copy. So you land on my homepage, and this is what it used to say, this is what it currently says, and it's a work in progress. But it used to say, elevate your digital identity and win more of your best customers. That took me like weeks of like mulling on, what exactly are we doing? I was trying to think, we're not just a web design firm. A lot of times people come to us with really bad branding. Their whole marketing aesthetic, their brand aesthetic, looks bad. And a website is this big, big manifestation of our messaging, our design style, the images we choose. It all gives these signals to the market. So when we approach a website design, we do so much more than website design. We actually step into more rebranding than we expect to most of the time. So I came up with this dumb term, digital identity. And I thought, oh, that encapsulates it all perfectly. I've got it figured out. Well, I took a screenshot of that and I threw it into a community called Exit 5, which is a community for marketers. And I said, hey, I'd love some feedback on this. Does this messaging resonate with you? Because this is basically my target market, right? And they all called me out. They were like, what does that even mean? We've never heard that term before. And here I was thinking it was clever because it communicated that we did more than just websites. We're going to transform how you look digitally. But it fell flat. My target market couldn't parse through it. And many of them were like, well, until I got to the last line, we partner, which they also hated that word, I've learned my lesson there, with marketers to create a website and brand that will empower them to do their best work and make a big impact in their organization. They were like, it took me a while to figure out that you're a web design firm. It took me too long. And what do people do when they're confused about what your business actually does? They just move on. They just leave. So the after, and I, again, constantly iterating on this, but we added a little eyebrow line, like what we like to call it, WordPress web design agency. Okay, now we're starting to have some immediate categorization. If somebody were to read this, they'd say, I know exactly what this business does. And then we still have kind of a marketing-ish line, elevate your business with a website that sells for you. We create engaging and easy-to-use websites that result in real ROI for your business. So this is our next step towards clarity. We want to be easy to understand because when we come up with things like digital identity, which is just not a great term, it's not real, it confuses our customers. So this has been my center of focus now for the last few weeks. This is a graphic from a company called Winter. Winter does B2B message testing. So you could take a screenshot of your website and then say, I need 15 people in this role with this many years of experience to look at my website and give me feedback on the messaging, right? So these guys have a lot of data to talk about what a website should actually contain. So this is what I call the knowledge progression that a website visitor should go through. And the first two I kind of put hand in hand, clarity and relevance. If we can't check these boxes first, then we're going to lose traffic. They're not going to continue to dig into our website. So they're trying to answer the question, what is it? We talked a little bit earlier about categorization. How do I categorize this in my mind? And then relevance. Is it aligned with my priorities and pains? This is like, stop here, do not pass go, do not collect $200, fix it. If someone lands on your website and they're in that first frame If they can't answer the clarity and relevance question, you're going to lose a lot of people. What we tend to do, and what I see very frequently, is we take value and differentiation and we try to push that way up in the content architecture or the hierarchy of a page. And it's a terrible idea. So you'll see people trying to say, how bad do I want it, why you? They try to take those things, they push it way up. So it's like, we're blank, blank, blank business that's way better at this specific thing, and we haven't answered the questions first about like, we're this business for these people, right? So on every single page of your website, I look to answer this question because you don't know how someone will start. They may end up coming through SEO or a paid channel and landing on not your home page, but a different page. So we want to make sure that clarity, relevance are answered first. Then we go into building value, differentiation. You can do those types of things. Value, you could talk about benefits of using your product. You can build social proof with testimonials or a logo band of people you've worked with, right? We know how to make ourselves look cool. And then differentiation, why are we different than our competitors? What specific features or what specific service offering do we have? But all of that comes a little later. The next thing we need to do if we want to be easy to understand is we need to know who we're writing for. So we need to write for the right people. And this is basically marketing 101. I feel like every single marketing blog post has this exact message, but it's still true. We need to document who our ideal customer personas are. HubSpot has a tool called the Make My Persona tool. It lets you kind of design like which of these blocks you want to have, but it also gives you some guidance. So you make up a fake person. You make up characteristics about them that are common to your existing customer base, and then you start figuring out how you're going to tailor your content to those specific people. So if we're trying to simplify our language, walk people through a natural knowledge progression, and we're also writing for the right people, we're going to be easy to understand. People are going to know, you're doing this, that meets my needs. I'm going to contact you and try to work with you. So the next thing we need to do is we need to stop trying to be the hero. I think that it's too easy to want to look better than the competition by touting ourselves, like, oh, I'm so great at this, or I have these specific features or this specific service offering. But what we fail to do is acknowledge that the customer's pain is why they're actually going to purchase from us. So if you haven't read it already, I'd recommend buying a copy of Building a Story Brand. This has been, I feel like, an influential book in the last 5 to 10 years in marketing. To summarize it, you should still read it, get a copy. But people buy because they want to experience transformation. They have whatever problem and they want to go from here towards their version of the promised land. And that's what's motivating them to actually purchase. So we need to stop positioning ourselves as the hero in the story and start positioning our customer as the hero of the story. Your job is to be Gandalf, not Frodo, right? Like Gandalf gave Frodo a plan, but he's not the hero of the story. So the 7-part framework that StoryBrand implements is to define your character in the story. That's your customer. They're the hero. Understand their problem. And then they're going to meet a guide who understands their fear and their pain. You're that guide. You're going to give them a plan. This is directly informing your website content. You're going to give them a plan to help them, that forces them to action and results in success and avoids failure. So when we start thinking in this framework, we're no longer positioning ourselves as, wow, my business is so great, you should work with me. Instead, it's, we know your pain. We know your specific struggles because we've done the work of understanding who our customer is, and now we're positioning them as a hero that needs some transformation. We can help guide them through. Okay, and then my last point here to transform your website is to get the right traffic. And I mentioned earlier that a blog post about the 10 essentials to whatever might get you a lot of traffic if you can get it to rank well, but it's kind of cheap traffic. Like they don't really need to purchase right now. They're just trying to learn this thing, right? So LinkedIn posted a study. There's several formidable research firms that have confirmed this, but they all kind of come up with semi-different numbers. But it's all in the same ballpark here. So less than 95% of your target market is not shopping for your solution today. So I own a website design and development firm. If I were to meet 100 marketers that control the budget in order to approve that project, most of them don't need my service right now. You'd probably visit most of their websites, and they did it within the last year, and it looks okay, right? So kind of the point about different numbers, they say somewhere between 2 and 5% of your target market is actually looking to purchase right now. So I think of marketing activities in 2 big buckets: demand generation and demand capture. So demand generation is attracting everyone who could be your customer, right? So you think about a podcast that's run by a business, they've got thousands of listeners, all of those listeners could be their customer, and some portion of them will convert, but that's a long, hard process in order to build that big audience. So my recommendation is to start with capture. That does not mean ignore demand generation, but start with demand capture, and specifically on the website. So if we think about some marketing activities that fall within the demand capture bucket, might be a podcast, might be videos you produce, could be social media content or events that you attend and network or host. Those are all effective at building community and engaging with your target audience so that one day when they're ready to buy, when they become part of that 2 to 5% that's in market for your solution, they think of you. But why don't we start with capturing those 2 to 5% that need your solution today? That's going to be the fastest path to start getting real leads on your website. So activities like SEO. A good example would be some pages on our website that we've put a ton of work into ranking, drive significant leads to our business because they have commercial intent. Someone is searching for a website designer who serves whatever industry. And when they're searching those terms, they're doing it because they want to buy. But when they search terms like how to create a marketing strategy, they're probably not looking to buy, they're just looking to read and learn. So we start thinking about this informational versus commercial intent. And then once you start getting that list of keywords that you want to target and build in your website, run paid ads on them. So you want to rank #1 for this, well, you can right now, just pay for it. Just run pay-per-click. And then retarget the hell out of people that visited your website with relevant ads. And this is a path to just hijack the lead generation process. And once you start getting your footing with these marketing strategies, then you focus back on demand generation. Because demand generation is also effective, but it just takes a lot more time, resources, consistency in order to build a podcast that's going to drive a bunch of leads to your business, or in order to build a social media following that has hundreds or thousands of your target market in it, so that some of them are converting on a regular basis. So in summary, there's 3 things you need to do if you want to transform your website into a lead gen machine. The first is make it easy to understand, reduce that cognitive effort that's required to understand what you do and who for, figure out who you're selling to, highlight their pains, and how you can lead them through transformation. And optimize your website to capture in-market shoppers. If you can do those 3 things, your website's going to start driving you leads. Questions?
So you mentioned that you basically have to give your clients brand strategy.
Yes.
Anytime you do a website.
Yes.
So do you make that a separate kind of thing, or is it included?
That's funny. So I've definitely served businesses on the smaller side and on the enterprise side. So sometimes a customer on the enterprise side will come to us and they have a very thorough brand book, and it's like, here's the approved colors, approved image style, here's the fonts, don't deviate from this. And our job is to basically just implement, right? And then on the smaller business side, they're almost always not going to have that, but they're gonna say, in my experience, we're not rebranding, we just want a new website. And if you were to look at the before and after on some of those sites, I had a slide earlier to show off a couple of our jobs and I missed it. But for example, Direct, they're an AI chatbot startup. That look and feel, the animation, the graphics that we implemented, the fonts, the colors, we did all of it. but they said, we're not rebranding because we've got a logo. So it is a little bit challenging to sell that separately, to add it as a line item when someone perceives that they're not rebranding. And frankly, that's what led me to my bullshit language, visual identity, because we invented a whole new look and feel for this customer that is nothing like what their previous website had. If you're in web design, right? So my advice then is to just collect good historical data on how long it really takes you to do these jobs. Track your time, start looking at historical data, and then kind of estimate based off of those values. Yeah.
So if I'm looking to generate more leads through my website, what's like the first 3 things you're like, all right, this is what I look at to see if they're doing this wrong, and this wrong. Look at those 3 things and start changing those first, and then go from there. Like what are the big 3 things that always happens?
We're a design-focused agency, like a design and development. So I would love to say like make it really pretty, make it function really well. But the reality is that just making your content easy to understand and then optimizing to get the right traffic, like that's actually the biggest takeaway. If you go into Google Analytics and you see that you have low traffic volume, like work on getting that up with the right people. And it typically is easy for me to evaluate by looking at Google Analytics and seeing where people are coming from. And then also, I mean, the proof is in the pudding. If you don't have many form submissions, people aren't trying to contact you and they aren't booking on your Calendly or whatever it is. So from there, I would start looking at like, do you have pages on your website that represent specific industries or specific persona types that you serve? And are they optimized for SEO? Because if you have that on terms that people are actually searching because they're shopping, that's going to be pretty effective, right? Like someone's Googling web design agency Tempe. I'm gonna show up on the first page. I know that they're shopping. Now I just need to make sure that the content doesn't ruin the experience, right? They don't fall off because it's not written poorly or from a self-centered perspective.
So my question for you is, I really appreciated your comment about intentionality and being clear in language.
Yes.
And as somebody, I work for ASU,
Yeah.
who has to say innovation every 3 seconds and
That's
use the same
it's a
4
tough
to
one.
5 words
Yeah.
on a regular basis. We often like to make up words.
Yeah.
The challenge is, right, the reason that we make up words is because we're trying to challenge and or show that there is a difference in what we are doing. So
Yeah.
I love that you have differentiator last and clarity first.
Yeah.
For example, and I'll give a really specific one, and what I'm looking for, what would be your guidance overall? Like we do entrepreneurial programming.
Yep.
Everybody wants to call it an incubator. I don't like the word incubator for many reasons, power laden, all kinds of issues.
Yeah.
Finally, I've gotten over it and started calling it a damn incubator because I'm over arguing with people about it. But I would just be curious, what would be some of your guidance for people in terms of I know many entrepreneurs are creating something from nothing, something that they think is unique that isn't out there. They want to create words. Where is that balance between being creative? Is it just using the words that people understand and then later telling the story? Would that be kind of the gist?
That is the gist.
Okay.
But I would say that this is written or is structured for businesses that are getting marketing started. ASU has massive
Already has a
brand
brand.
recognition.
Gotcha.
So people are coming to ASU as a brand, understanding it's a school. Okay, the money you guys have put into the innovation language probably does have some serious traction. So you guys kind of get a pass, and big companies can get a pass on this because of the amount that they can spend on brand. I don't recommend trying to go against the grain, kind of like the idea of category creation, right? Category creation is not a great idea for small businesses and startups that don't have the funding in order to create like massive distribution of this information.
Yeah.
But ASU could create a whole new category and probably invent a word and get it into the dictionary in like under 5 years. So there is a little bit of that to unpack, but in the individual programs, right? So we're talking about entrepreneurship and how you guys incubate small businesses. I do think that what you said is correct. Leading with terms that allow people to easily categorize in their mind like, oh, I understand what this program is and then later building a little bit more differentiation, benefit, having case studies and testimonials about how you've led a business through it. Additionally, from an incubator standpoint, you guys are coming to businesses with resources, right? So that's a very attractive proposition. So I would expect that a small business that actually needs that is going to put a little more work into understanding it. They might dig into sub-pages. They might dig into a linked PDF that you have. So all that to say—
It's a good gig, I agree.
Yeah, I think that the brand recognition and the power you guys have in the market is different than most small businesses. So you guys have a lot of this already in place, and focusing on demand generation and channel creation is not a bad play for you guys because you can afford to do it, is my whole take.
And lesson learned for everybody, no matter what your level of brand is, it's being aware of where you are in the market and what are your strengths and how to leverage it.
Totally.
Gotcha.
Yep.
This might be a little bit beyond what it is that you're covering, but I was just thinking about the websites that you created up there were really beautiful. And I imagine there's likely a difference between what you build on the website and how that looks and feels, and the product or service and the personality of the individuals in the business. Have you found any challenges between marrying where the business owners and the business and product and services are at versus the elevated brand, look, feel, personality that now you are able to produce on the front end of their website?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant or unreasonable, but I do think that under a lot of circumstances, if we didn't have client input, we'd be able to create better branded websites or better looking websites. But there is a process when you're doing web design of making sure that you're bringing your best to the table while pushing the client creatively as far as they're going to go, right? That's actually one of our key differentiators as an organization, is that we love to push our clients creatively, but what's kind of packed into that is like just knowing where they are and going as far as we can. Because in reality, people have their own preferences. We go through a process of creative intake where we try to understand, like, send us some websites you like. Who are the big guys in your industry? What kind of patterns can we learn from that? Make you look distinct, but also relevant, so people don't have trouble understanding what industry you're in. But yeah, I mean, we've definitely had challenges where people just like don't even want creative. I'm like, well, why'd you pick us? We want to make it super creative. But yeah, I think that's client services, right? You're gonna have to work to make sure that you're pleasing your client, but also doing your best work. Yeah. Rock and roll.
Let's give it up for Tyler.
Thank you guys. I appreciate the time.
Thanks. Awesome. Here we go. Amazing. We all, I think, have been in that. At least I have. And I think Tyler described it as like, don't be the hero. It's like you finesse your copy. It's like, oh yeah, this is it. And it's like, simplicity is always the answer. Speak directly to your customers.